the lunar calendar. They had high math, they understood geometry, and because of the lunar calendar, they also understood the heavens, astronomy.
What I've learned now is just how amazing they were in terms of their knowledge of the solar system and of mathematics.
And then they had the unit of measurement was 606, which they call the stade. One side of the Great Pyramid from the base to the tip of the apex is 606 feet. If you square inside the octagon, which the surveyors like to call, it's a term they use, squaring the circle, and you divide that up into 4 equal parts inside of cubes, you'll find those cubes are all made of 606-foot lines per cube side. The angle of the Great Pyramid of Egypt runs 51.8 degrees up the slope from the base to the angle. That measurement is there, and when you come off of the baseline at Newark and you run true north and then measure that angle back to the baseline, what do we find? 51.8 degrees. So did they have the same math as the ancient Egyptians? Well, I gotta say, yeah, it sure looks like it.
It's as inspiring, I think, in its way as the NASA program to send a man to the moon.
And what a special place it is. You feel that right away. You feel it immediately when you're there. I was in a kind of strange position because I was on a job interview when they took me to the site, and I was literally just from the presence of the place moved to tears and felt kind of uncomfortable as a person in a job interview, but yet having these strong emotional feelings and some connection to this place and the history that was there. And it just occurred to me, how could this be?
The people who created the settled places, the agriculture, the urban design, the engineering, and the astronomy that preceded us, preceded we European Americans, are not quite us. They are other people, we felt. And in the European American tradition, there's a long, long history of our saying to ourselves, oh, no, that's those people. And those people can't be as good as us people. They couldn't have built those great big things.
Have these traditions affected our scientific thinking? Did we, because of cultural biases, fail to recognize the advanced nature of ancient mounds and artifacts?
The presuppositions that scientists go into the field with comes out of our cultural tradition. If you want to earn a living as an archaeologist in a university setting with the opportunity to teach and some support in publishing, you have to not challenge the senior people openly. And depending on the department, of course, there may be more or less egotistical senior people. It's like the chute in a corral, and the animals are basically trapped. They can't go sideways, they just go through the chutes. You can think of that as academic employment.
While not everyone in academia may agree with this position, if true, it may also be true that Lewis Henry Morgan and John Wesley Powell, in their time, helped to build the corrals of appropriate professional archaeological thought, casting doubt on many archaeological artifacts dating before Columbus as avocational, amateurish, and therefore questionable. Historian Barnhart disagrees with this notion.
But they were avocational in the true sense of the word, is that there was no professional archaeology at that time. There were no specialized journals of archaeology. There were no specialized conferences. That begins to happen in the late 19th century. But at that time, archaeology had no professional or institutional setting, and it was really done by a lot of talented amateurs in the true sense of the word.
As archaeology became institutionalized, A greater division would form between mainstream scientists and amateur archaeologists who continued to accept artifacts that were purportedly pre-Columbian and that might suggest the presence of cultures from other parts of the world. This latter group are known today as diffusionists. Diffusionists are scholars and amateur archaeologists who believe that contact between inhabitants of America and other geographies may have taken place before Christopher Columbus. Most scholars featured in this film believe that the ancestors of today's Native Americans came to North America across a land bridge that had formed during the Ice Age. With perhaps only one exception by the Vikings, no outside contact with Native Americans prior to Christopher Columbus is believed to have occurred. Diffusionists, on the other hand, believe that ancient Native Americans, such as the Hopewell civilization, might have traded, intermingled, or even originated from other cultures. A controversy surrounding artifacts found at the Newark, Ohio earthworks demonstrates the division between some diffusionists and most mainstream archaeologists.
This is one of the earliest maps that we found on the Newark earthworks. This is a drawing by Wyrick from 1860.
David Wyrick had done the first comprehensive surveys of the magnificent Newark earthworks. The first of what came to be known as the Holy Stones was found there, and 5 months later, at the Jacksontown Stone Mound a few miles southeast of Newark, he found something even more amazing.
They found one major earth structure in the center, surrounded by 12 small burials. David Wyrick went straight for the middle one with 9 other gentlemen, and they began to dig that mound down. And they uncovered it. And when they did, they found a wooden coffin made out of oak. And opening up that coffin, in there was a large skeleton of a man, but also in this coffin was a little box, no more than maybe about 8 or 10 inches in size, and it was cemented shut. Wyrick and the men, while they're all there together, they pried this box apart, and in it was a black stone. They opened this box, and here was this unusual artifact.
We own the Newark Holy Stones, and these stones were found in a Hopewell mound in the 1860s, and the presumption from finding them was that perhaps the American Indians had some kind of contact with the Hebrews, or possibly they were the Hebrews. That's another idea. So we have the museum has been interested in origins.
They took it to some scholars, identified that it was probably some type of Hebrew. They took it to some rabbis living in the area, and upon looking at it, they said yes, they could read it. And it was a complete rendition of the 10 Commandments. They called it block Hebrew because they had never seen anything written like this, but they called it block Hebrew. And so then naysayers started picking on Wyrick. He was accused of sticking this stone in front of these 9 men somehow and being able to hide it and conceal it.
Upon examination, mainstream archaeologists proclaimed the stones a hoax, while many diffusionists continue to believe in their authenticity.
There has been good points on either side for whether they are a first millennium piece of artifact or something that was devised in the 19th century.
And then it wasn't until sometime in the 1900s, lo and behold, in Israel, they find, guess what? They found block-style Hebrew. That block-style Hebrew was given a name by the experts, monumental Hebrew, because of the way it was written. Long after Wyrick. After.
Mainstream archaeologists dismiss such findings, in part because scientific protocols and rules of evidence were not followed in their acquisition.
The science of archaeology was really in its infancy at that time. There were only a few people using what we would consider to be even remotely modern methods.
But what of the tens of thousands of artifacts found prior to the establishment of these modern methods?